Hi, this is a video in response to Joshua Henslee's video called Bitcoin is Dead, and he's been a long time supporter of BSB, that's the Satoshi Vision version of Bitcoin, so it's worthy of listening, it's worth listening to. But I took notes during it, Joshua, and I thought I'd go through those to compare ideas. In short, I think that your video mainly represents a loss of confidence. I can understand that completely, and it's based on fundamentally the lack of adoption and uptake of BSB rather than the functionality. My faith in BSB remains, although you never can be sure, because the electric car was invented, I don't know, 100 years ago, and it's only now that it flared up like a match and became pervasive. So I sort of compare BSB with that, but I'm not sure. You know more about the technicalities of BSB than I do, particularly Terranode, which I'm kind of interested in. You also say that it's all to do with the discussion of whether or not Craig Wright created Bitcoin. To me, that's not important. The fundamental to me is the apparently majestic, magnificent scalability, low cost, low energy functionality of BSB and its security and so on. So that's what my focus is. Even if the general world public is not at all favoring BSB and it's jumping on the bandwagon of BTC, the quiet functionality of BSB remains, and I think you acknowledge that. You keep saying that nobody picks it up, so therefore it's dead. Now, I just don't agree with that. I've seen other technologies, people despair over them. I mean, you know, it's a cliche that Alexander Graham Bell, when he presented his phone first to Western Union, they said, what use would this company have for an electronic toy? So that's what the phone was, and he might have said, well, you know, this is never going to work. There's no telephone lines between towns. People don't like it. I just get on with my life. So that's understood. It's happened so many other times. Also, you seem to have an element of guilt about encouraging people to promote BSB, but I applaud what you've done. Help me understand it. Same with Satoshi. Each of you got your different viewpoints, different styles, but I liked yours because you were always pursuing the real truth, emotions aside. You seem way more technical ability than I do, and possibly Satoshi does. So I don't think you have any reason to feel guilty about anything. The delisting, again, you mentioned delisting of BSB. That again is just a matter of lack of faith in it, not its functionality. That's following public sentiment in a very acrimonious debate about it. So I can just put that aside. Nobody's using it. Again, that's just a total expression of lack of adoption. Burning coins, presumably to keep the price up. Again, it's a loss of faith. Lack of money for development and not enough talent going to it. Same thing. Now, if BSB is functional the way we think it is, it's sitting there, it's not adopted, but it can flare up like a match one day. And you say, oh, it'll never happen. Well, I can say, I've seen technologies, many technologies, that was sneered at and laughed at for a long time, and then all of a sudden they became mainstream. And you said, don't build supply before you have demand. Well, you could say, don't build a Alexander Graham Bell's telephone until you've got lots of people say, hey, we want a telephone. It's not like that. Innovation always has to create the product, then offer it to create the demand when people see the benefit. They don't want scalable blockchain. Well, I smile at that because I think of the Internet of Things, the enormity of fringe computing, the number of devices we're going to have, the Optimus robots all over the place. There's going to be an immense demand for huge scalability, billions of transactions a second when everything gets connected in that way. So I can't accept that people don't want a scalable blockchain. At the moment, it's not so much in demand, but you're aware that these things are scaling up. These other technologies are scaling up exponentially. And the answer to them, as far as I can see, the best answer I can see, is microtransactions using BSB. That will be the Cinderella going to the castle. Where are we now? Is there hope? Well, yes. You said, is there hope? No. Well, there is certainly hope here. Now, if I'm quite happy, just like you, to prove wrong. I have a little bit of BSB. So, you know, if you can prove me wrong, then I'll sell that BSB. I recently sold some and have built a house, another second house on the back of my property. I'll live in that brand new house. So BSB's been useful to sell to do that. But I'm still in BSB to some extent, and I'm watching it like a hawk. Terranode, I'd like to hear more about why you think Terranode is not going to do it for BSB, or what the defects are. Because my faith at the moment, not having your technical ability, is that Terranode is going to be a functional turning point, not an adoption turning point, but a functional turning point for Terranode, for BSB. So I'd be interested to hear more about that if you can stand talking more about BSB, because I think you are demoralized about BSB and you want to move on. Understandable. Let's see. Less than 1% chance that something will change. Well, it's an arbitrary number. How can it break out of this? Now, here's an interesting thing. I think that, as I've said in a previous video, Elon Musk stumbled across an ability to scale, and I think he might have been talking about BSV, but he didn't know the detail. He said, "Oh, it's some kind of Bitcoin." Now you say, "How can it scale?" If Elon Musk got hold of it, realized the potential, he's no idiot. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He will apply it to the microtransactions between cars transacting data and in lumps of data that have value. And same thing with the X platform. He's been looking for a micro payment system for a while. It just takes one person, that is Elon Musk, and never mind there's others as well, but if he picked it up, that would, I think, bring the landslide that we've all been talking about. I think perhaps, Josh, you haven't had landslide flare-up successes in your life, and I've had a few. So I know what it is to be a bit gloomy about things and then just be dumbstruck by what's happened. That's happened to me several times in my life. I've always been an early adopter. I was one of the first people to use a hand calculator in 1973. All my classmates were using slide rules, and I was using a calculator to do my calculations in electronics and stuff like that. So there was only one person in the room, another friend of mine, John Kent, he also had one. But there's a striking difference between what we could do in our classrooms and what the others could do. So BSV can offer that. Now, if someone like Amazon Web Services cottoned on to the power of BSV, they also could make it flare up too. But if I was guessing, I would say that somebody's going to get it through to Elon Musk. I've been talking through Grok, would you believe? I used to create AI in the 1990s, the expert systems, using Access Resolver and a little bit of an expert object and stuff. So I understand your excitement about BSV, about AI. I'm using it daily. I'm using Grok. I'm using Midjourney and others. I'm very keen on that. But I think we'll see. I think we're going to see somebody jump on it. If Amazon Web Services, who do $150 billion a year in services to their customers, providing cloud-based infrastructure and services for people who can't be bothered to buy service and computers and staff and technicians, if they're doing $150 billion a year, they can not only could presumably use BSV themselves in-house for their own purposes, but they would, of course, relay it to transform the businesses of their customers, the other corporations and businesses and people who want to do transactions at almost low cost, super cheap energy. I mean, the comparison I do is that a transaction of BTC is a house month of power, and the amount of energy used for a Bitcoin for a BSV transaction is 12 minutes of that electric jug behind me going. So it's a massive difference. Now that is going to make a difference, but it's really the functionality, the speed, the cheapness, the reasonable security. That's what's going to make a difference in business, regardless of anyone's lack of confidence in it. The thing is what it is. The functionality is what it is. Same as my calculator could do things 2 times equals put in memory 1, 3 times equals put in memory square root, like that. You try and do that with a slide rule. Anyway, I'm just saying that BSV is like that. It is an amazing, wonderful functionality as far as I can see. Now, you might be able to prove me wrong. Oh, no, that's not going to happen because it doesn't really scale that way, or it's not really using that much less energy. Oh, listen, but so far I haven't been able to fault it, and I've put hundreds of thousands of this with lesser technical knowledge than you, but an awareness of how the world is, how economies work, how people's hearts and minds work. And in this case, I think it's more to do with the hearts and minds of people than it is to do with the functionality of BSV. So I hope that's answered the question, my answer to the question of how can it break out of this. It just needs one significant adoption of it that gives a competitive advantage over its competitors, and Elon Musk would be the perfect one, but there's plenty of others that could do it, to be noticed, and then others follow that. Anyway, I hope that sort of answers the question. You're welcome to post your response here, or I'm quite happy to talk with you in another interview such as we've done before. All right, but don't lose heart yet, and don't sell all of your BSV, because the ratio at the moment is still about 2,300 BSVs per BTC. And as we know, BTC can't scale, and it uses huge amounts of energy. It's run by a cartel. So sooner or later, the truth comes out, and people will want that speedy, cheap, safe, low energy transaction. Somebody will do it, even if everybody else doesn't believe it. They'll do it. They'll prove that it works. They'll be noticed because they're going to have competitive advantage, and then there'll be adoption. And I think that the adoption might be quite quick. Nothing persuades people more than going out of business. Like Kodak went out of business when the digital camera came in. But don't lose heart on that, and just don't sell all your BSV. Okay, bye for now.